Hey guys.
Hey.
Can you all hear me, guys? Just if you can hear me, can you shout your name, please?
Yes.
Philip.
Yes. Irene.
Irene, yeah. Paul, can
Eric.
you hear me? Thank you. Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if Paul is frozen.
I do.
Cool. It looks like Paul is frozen. Anthony, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Okay, gentlemen. Paul, you back with us? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks. Turn off. I won't say that because we've been recorded. Anyway. Turn off those other things you're looking at on your phone, Paul. Anyway. Right. You're muted. Unmute. Unmute your mic. You got to unmute your mic.
I just had Seber on the other line, so I had to just send him a message.
That's okay. Right, gentlemen. And Irene as well. Sorry, ladies as well, Irene. Apologies. Okay. Guys, firstly, welcome to the first reformed meeting of the new Tanzanian Rugby Federation, and congratulations for getting to the table. I'll introduce myself briefly and what I'm here in the capacity to do. So I think most of you know my name is Freddie Davis. I have been involved in rugby for over 35 years, and for the last 7 to 8 years I've been heavily involved with rugby in Africa in various different parts. And my interest in the call today is ensuring that we move Tanzania rugby forward and that we form a new federation, and that federation is not only is vetted correctly, but also is recognised by both the Tanzanian government and also the National Olympic Committee of Tanzania and World Rugby and Rugby Africa. Now, I'm going to introduce, Will, can you show me everyone else's pictures? Because I'm just going to give a bit run through of who's on the call. Okay. So I'll put Anthony and Eric Mula together. These gentlemen representing Dar Cubs. They've had quite a lot of success down there, and they'll be on today's call. Paul, I'm going to come back to you, Paul, in a second. Phil is a gentleman from Ireland that has been working in partnership with Scorpions Development under the Scorpions Rugby banner, basically with a mission to go to Africa and see if he could help you guys get to where you need to go. And he's been doing a lot of development within Africa. Irene is our most famous rugby player, Eric, even more famous than you, unfortunately. Irene has represented Kenya several times and has kindly offered her services to help sports development in Tanzania, I believe, since 2016, Irene. So big thanks to you for all your help. We've also got Abdul. Abdul is from the Tanga region of Tanzania and is currently the director of rugby for both Tanga, and is going to be working quite heavily in partnership with the Scorpions development team over the next couple of months to develop a rugby field in Tanga. There's other people that are not on the call this evening, guys, but I know they are probably listening in on YouTube and somewhere in the background. So we just want to cover the purpose of tonight's call and the agenda. If you guys want to write this down, and as quickly as we can get through this, the better. So, that's a little bit of an introduction to who we are and what we come here for, guys. So about 2 weeks ago, through my contacts and through what I'm doing with other parts of Africa, I received a phone call from members of the Rugby Africa Committee to have a conversation. During that conversation, it was highlighted that Tanzania was about to be removed from the World Rugby and Rugby Africa status. Now, a little bit of history for you guys, if you don't know. When the original World Rugby organization was formed, Tanzania were one of the original members back in those days. So World Rugby do not want, and Africa Rugby do not want to remove Tanzania Rugby from the organization. But unfortunately, for the last several years, they have been unable to reach anyone inside Tanzania and basically have an endorsed federation to work with. So that's the main purpose of what we're trying to achieve. I would like to briefly hand it over to Paul, if he's willing to do so, just to give a bit of an update on the history of how we got to this point, because we've kind of been in this status before, back in 2016, I believe, where we were very close to getting this across the finishing line, and things didn't happen, and that broke down. So a lot of what we're trying to do right now today, guys, has already been done. What's that, like 5 years ago? So what we're going to try and do is piece that together, present that to the Sports Council of Tanzania, and hopefully if we can appoint roles for each of you this evening, and you can all agree upon those roles, we can move forward with that federation forming. Okay? Before I pass it over to Paul, I'm sorry if my accent is too strong, gentlemen. Does anyone have any questions about that before I move on? I'll take that as a no. Okay, thumbs up. Cool. Anthony, give me a thumbs up. Cool. Okay, Paul, you got the floor, so I'm going to hand it over to Paul. Guys, I'll be chairing tonight's meeting because we haven't officially got a chairman at the moment. So, Paul, over to you.
Baria Johnny. Wasiku.
Nzuri sana.
Okay, Paulini. So, yeah, I mean, behind the scenes, there's been a push to reinstate the Tanzanian Rugby Union, and great efforts have been made in different stages. We initially tried to take this through the Tanzanian Rugby development and to try and develop our Kijanas, our youngsters, so we would build up to seniors through them, and therefore hopefully be blessed to be able to go forward and qualified to be in the union. We desperately wanted to get enough clubs together so we could have form a league, and we would then be able to present ourselves eventually for qualification. We also tried to get the senior teams up to play more games and play games, international games, and there was also an opportunity in 2018 for Tanzania to put a team into a Kenyan league, but unfortunately all these things fell apart through one reason or another, but we had a strong push again in 2019 with the assistance mostly from Wayne McIntosh, who was then stationed in Kenya, so he could have more direct contact. Without going into too many fine details, that also fell apart through no one's real fault, and we were not in a good position to take this on. Our mistake was not to pursue more with the Sports Council, but it is definitely one of these situations you can't do one without the other, and I'm very, very pleased to hear and know of the 6 teams which are existing, and at least that starts our qualification into Rugby Africa, Rugby Africa, and to qualifiers. As Freddie has already mentioned, that we must get this approved by Tanzanian Sports Council, and they're very, very keen to have us working, and the advantages of us going forward and the future possibilities of qualifying for the Olympics in 7 series. So there's the basics of it. It's had a bit of history. We've got a lot of data on it. We've had a lot of correspondence, and there's nothing happened in the Tanzanian Rugby Union side since 2012. It was actually formed or established in 2005 as the Tanzanian Rugby Union, and it's been on hold since. So we've got a little bit of a battle to reinstate that, but with the help of the Sports Council and hopefully the Ministry, we're hoping to do that very quickly, so we can then go back to Rugby Africa, and Freddie can hopefully take us to another step as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. That's awesome. Guys, just to recap on that then. So I think we know that we've got very close to this position of many times. But the purpose of, I guess, why I've asked you all to come on this call is we've only got 2 weeks essentially to buy us a bit of time before we get removed from World Rugby, and the process to re-enter then becomes much, much longer. Okay, so I would respectfully ask for everyone's cooperation during the call and over the next 2 weeks, because we all need to pull together to make this happen. It's not going to be one individual. There's going to be lots of people expected to go away and do different things at different times. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see in the comments box. I don't know if you can see that on the right hand side. I just wrote. Can you just give me a hands up if you can see it? Can people see that? Brilliant. Phil can see it, and Eric. Okay, guys, if you can't see it, that's what we're looking to appoint this evening. We're looking to decide particular roles for people. So we're going to have a president of the federation, a vice president, a secretary, a chairman, a head of the referees, a treasurer, a vice treasurer. We'll be working with the treasurer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 roles here, guys. Okay. Now, obviously, you guys have been identified independently by people like myself. So I'll explain. Hi, Pete. Good to see you. Guys, Pete is in the YouTube chat, so we know that's working. Okay, gentlemen. So to summarize, what we're looking to do for the next phase of this meeting is to talk about what these roles are involved. You know, what you're actually going to be expected to do for having the title, and the people that you're most likely to be working with within the group. We'll call it working groups, and what you're expected to be involved with over the next 2 weeks. Now, I'm going to put my nominations forward based on my independence. And what I mean by that, guys, is, as you know, I'm not Tanzanian quite yet. Maybe I'll cross over and get a game under my belt. But at present, I am independent. So to be very blunt, I don't have any allegiances. I don't have any biases. I don't care if you're from the Dark Hubs, Tanga, or Mwanza, where you're from. So in order for this to be a fair process, guys, we need to have someone represented in some way on the federation in each role. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're from a region you get a role. That is because you have a specific set of skill sets, okay? So if any of you have not been familiar with rugby committees, etc., I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview on what is involved, okay? So first thing is, if you're part of the federation, you will be expected to attend meetings like today. So congratulations to you lot, because you ticked the first box. For those of you that are not present, listening in on the meeting, unfortunately, that's not very helpful to us. Okay, so within the meeting, guys, you will normally have a chairperson, a chairman or chairperson that will be responsible for doing what I'm doing today, which is essentially organising the meeting, making sure people know when it is, and when the meeting takes place, making sure that everyone speaks at the right time, and etc. Phil has kindly agreed to take the minutes of today's meeting. So Phil is writing the meetings. So you don't have to take notes, guys. All will be fed back. So we'll have a chairperson and a minutes. Okay. The other roles that I've mentioned will be a president. Think of the president as somebody like almost like the president of Tanzania, where their responsibility will be to represent the federation. So if there was a meeting taking place between, I don't know, the Sports Council, for instance, and the Tanzanian Rugby Federation, our representative would likely be our president or somebody the president nominates. The president needs to be very good at doing this, because you'll be shaking lots of people's hands. We call them handshakers. And also needs to be good for taking a photograph, because this will be the person maybe giving quotations to papers and things like that. So think of this like our outside representation of the federation. So we're kind of a small little group, and the president is like the front man or front woman, I would say. Okay, everyone understand that? Everyone happy with that? So I don't want my president stood on the bar naked at 2 o'clock in the morning, guys. That won't be very good for us. Okay, so right, vice president. I think this is a pretty simple role. This is somebody that we're looking to develop into becoming the next president. So the vice president sits below the president, learns how to do everything, and normally is from a different area, a different club, or different region from the current president. So what we don't want, for instance, is, I don't know, all the rugby to be, and all the members to be in dark hubs, for instance, because that won't be fair for everyone else. So that's what we're trying to share the load. Okay. The next role is the head of the referees. So think of it, we can have some coaches are going to be in charge of the players, and the director of rugby will look after the players, but we will need someone to look after the referees. So for instance, let's assume that Eric, you were playing against Tanga. So you would call up the federation, you would speak to the head of the referees and say, I've got a friendly against Abdul next Wednesday. We need a referee. Can you find someone? So that person then would phone all the referees and making sure that, you know, referee transport is covered, etc. Okay? Everyone understand that one? Simple one? Cool. The next role is a treasurer. So a treasurer is a person that is responsible for the treasure or the money, and make sure that that money is released and spent wisely. A treasurer is almost like an accountant, guys. If you understand what an accountant is, it's a person that is responsible for making sure that we're not overspending, that we're not underspending, that the money coming in is being spent correctly. Okay, so this role has to be shared. Okay, to stop the president running off and building himself a nice house somewhere on the beach. So, in order to make sure that doesn't happen, we have to have a vice treasurer. So we have a treasurer and a vice treasurer. Okay, guys, give me a thumbs up. Everyone happy with that? Right, cool. Okay, so I have been speaking to Phil, who is also independent, and I've also had a chat with Paul. I think I've had a chat to all of you in the last couple of days, and I've explained my reasoning after what I've seen for appointing these roles. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to put forward someone for each one of those roles, and if someone disagrees with that or agrees, you will be on the call. So this is completely transparent, guys. If you think that someone is better to do that job, or you don't want to do that job, or that job is too big a commitment, this is the time to say, okay? Guys, are we happy with that? Yeah, cool. Yeah. If anyone's got any objections, guys, just put your hand in the air, and Will, our technical computer guy, will put you on the call, okay? So at any time, oh, yeah, Paul's in.
Yes, Mr. Chairman or acting chairman. Thank you. I don't seem to see who is actually on board at the moment. I only see 4 other faces. Are we still connected to everyone? Can we confirm that? And also, the other people I see, like Pete trying to get in. I've had messages on my WhatsApp. Other people who are supposed to be on, Danny, Seba, are they there or are they not? Has anyone joined this since? I mean, before we go to this vital part of decision making, have we got the full, the best we can on board? Matteo hasn't come on.
Yeah, okay, give me a second. The reason that I can't speak to Matteo because he's been sent the link personally. Give me a second. I'm just sending. I'm just going to click on the YouTube link myself, Paul, just so I can see who's on there, because that's the only way I can do it. But I have to do it off my phone, so give me a second. Paul, just so I can see who's on there. Okay. Okay. That's weird. Yeah, I can see the people. Yeah, that's running live, Paul, and there are Daniel's on there, Peter's on there. Sorry, guys. Right. So I had echo then. Yeah, so that's running live. That's all up and running. So again, if people are connected, great. But if they're not, there's not a lot we can do at this stage. If anyone's got any objections to what is about to take place, okay, nice to see you, Seb. Thank you. If anybody's got any objections, what I would say, guys, is, and I'll say this again, is our objective here, this call, is to appoint these roles, to get this across the finishing line, and in 3 months' time, we will have another review, and we will sit down and we'll discuss if those roles are not suitable again. But timing is against us a little bit, Paul, so unfortunately, we'll have to proceed. Okay, guys, and yeah, so based on what I've seen in Tanzania, guys, and meeting you all personally, most of you know that I visited Zanzibar for the Beach Sevens tournament that is hosted in Zanzibar. And I visited and got to meet most of you, and essentially was coming over to interview a lot of you guys because I had met you in person and find out if there was a possibility we could still pull this off. As Paul mentioned, a lot of the emphasis had been on junior rugby, and I had had information that there was a lot of other senior rugby being played. So what we've tried to do is put those things together, because obviously time has gone on and some of you got older, and we're now in a position to launch a senior league. So, guys, these are my nominations for the roles. I'd like you to write these down, and then we can have a bit of a group discussion. And if anyone else on YouTube has got any comments, because I can see your comments on YouTube, guys. Feel free to comment as we go. So, first role would be president. My nomination is Abdul from Tanga. My reasonings for that is Abdul has demonstrated that he is very good at administration and paperwork, because I've seen the paperwork down in Tanga. And when his phone is working, he is a great communicator. And something we've got to work on. And also, guys, from my percentage, what I've seen in Abdul, and you might disagree, is I was very impressed by how he presented himself as a role model to his players. And I think he would make a great representation in dealing with government officials, etc., etc. So that's my recommendation. For vice president, we've got a young man that is currently left Arusha. I've seen this gentleman play rugby in the UK, and he was impressive. And then I got to see him coach in Rwanda for the Tanzanian under-15s and under-18s, and he was equally as impressive. His name is Matteo. He has spread his wings from Arusha, and I think he is studying sports science currently in Mwanza University. He is somebody that I would like to work alongside and underneath Abdul as vice president over the next 3 months to 3 years, with the will that when he finishes university, that he's in a position to fulfill his role as president if he chooses to do so. And I think it would be a great experience for him in terms of his education. And I think it would also, there's not going to be many of us that are going to be sports educated and rugby professionals. And I think this is where Matteo is in a luxury position to feed off all of you guys a bit older than him, learn the ropes, and hopefully then he's in a position to make sure that we're not in the same situation we're in now, where we have to re-establish a union in several years' time. We've got continuity. So when you guys get too old and you can't use your computers, we can hand this over to a younger generation that have got a leadership. Okay? Matteo is based in Mwanza. So the reason I've also done that is we've got someone in what I would call the northwest, if my geography is right, and we've got someone in the southeast, mid-east. So we've got Mateo's job would be having a conversation with Mwanza, Arusha, and Moshi, and then Abdul, you'd be expected to give regular updates on the guys down in Tanga, Dar, Zanzibar, and if the Leopards and the Rhinos join those two as well. Chairman, obviously I'm acting chairman this evening. I'm more than happy to fulfill the role over the next 3 months, but I would prefer not to. I would appoint, I'm recommending a gentleman that has already been mentioned. I've sent him a message asking him, let me just check if he agrees to this. His name is Wayne McIntosh. I believe when I met Wayne in 2014, he was the chairman of the Dar Cubs. Wayne heavily, privately supported the development in other regions of Tanzania. I don't think many people are aware of that because he kept it to himself, but he was supporting development up in Arusha. And then when I introduced him and Paul, those guys really took the lead really with the union and ensured that the union was moving forward. So in the current climate, I think we need to have someone a little bit independent. Wayne is currently in charge of Laos in Southeast Asia. He's gone over there and formed the Laos Federation. So he's very familiar with dealing with World Rugby and the criteria, but he's a Tanzanian. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. I think he's got 4 passports, but he's got a Tanzanian passport. He classes himself. He's not English.
No, he's a Brit, but he spent many years in Malawi and Tanzania and eventually in Kenya. Okay. But his interests and his love has been a lot to do with development in Tanzania. His story is too big to be able to go into.
He's currently on another call this evening, guys, because he would have joined us, but he sent his apologies. I think that role is probably going to change a little bit over the next 3 months, guys. So I don't really want to put anyone there and have to take that on. What I'm hoping is while Wayne or someone takes a lead for the short term, just to fill the gap, that somebody rises from the ashes and presents themselves as a chairman. So we're looking for that. Basically, in honesty, guys, I've been asking for leadership, as Eric and Abdul know, because I'm shouting at them quite regularly, and I haven't had it, guys. So until I see some leadership in the federation, people taking the lead and not me, we'll have to kind of persevere with that. Okay. I don't think anyone wants to be a referee, but Daniel from Arusha weirdly has got ambitions of becoming the first international referee in Tanzania and is currently getting ready to head down to Tanga to do some work for me down there, and then we'll be heading to Dodoma to support the Dodoma Dragons. So I would ask that Daniel is appointed head of the referees committee, or whatever they're going to call it, head of the referees. And Daniel has already, he sent me a message, he has already reached out to you in each region, and I think everyone from each region has nominated a referee for each club, as I would call it. Those referees, we'll discuss in a minute, are going to be doing a referee course. And then Daniel will essentially be making sure that they're upkeep. I will, because of my background, I will supervise that and make sure that that happens. The next role is treasurer. I'm going to put forward Paul for treasurer only because, well, not only because, mainly because Paul was the previous treasurer of the last federation that nearly got across the finishing line and is familiar how to run accounts and how to run books. Kevin, is Kevin still on the call? He's gone, I think. Kevin's gone. And then for vice treasurer, so that's a bit like the president, vice president role, where Paul will be expected to develop the vice treasurer in order to take over those books. And it will also require any money to be released to be agreed upon by those two people. So think of it like, I don't know, we get a sponsorship deal for a £5,000. It comes to the federation. The federation then decide, we have a meeting and we decide we're going to buy a set of rugby posts for Dar Cubs. We get a cost, we get a budget. We all agree, or you guys agree, I should say. And then Paul would release the money or purchase that item from the money. There would be no, how can I put it? Every shilling, not every penny, every shilling will be accounted for, guys. So it won't be round numbers like, I don't know, 5 million shillings. Everything will be down to the absolute minute point. So this is a big thing that I need to stress to everyone. And the reason I'm saying this over and over again is we will not be mismanaging money. Okay? So that has been a problem, and I don't want to go over it, but I know that has been a problem with other organizations, etc. So the reason I'm asking Paul to fulfill that role is to negate that. And there's a gentleman. Is Superman's real name Super? Or has he got another name? Can anyone elaborate on that? Sorry. Superman has got the best name ever. Kevin, is Superman, is that your name, Kevin? Are you going to Kevin, Phil? Can you give me a nod on this?
No, Kevin is on in place of Super.
Okay.
Super's real name is, I have it somewhere. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Not a problem. Kevin, if you can hear me, and I'll make sure that this passes, I am nominating Super from the Moshi Bulls to be the vice treasurer of the new Rugby Federation. Okay. Then, so they are going to be the seven voting members, guys, okay? So you've got 7 people that are going to vote, and the reason 7 is a magic number is because if 3 of you agree with the one side and 3 of you agree with the other side, there will always be a 4th person to sway the vote. So it'll always be the maximum will be a 3 to 4 split. Does that make sense, guys? So that's important. Okay. There's one role that I have not covered yet. I know I'm coming back to the one. The one role that I have not covered is the secretary, guys. Now, I'll explain loosely what a secretary does. Think of it like a bookkeeper who does administration, who spends lots of time writing things down and making sure that if the president says, hey, Irene, because she's the current secretary, by the way, guys, if you haven't noticed. Hey, Irene, I need to know how many players are registered in Dodoma. The secretary will go able to go 32. So all the information, and I know some of you have not understood this, has to go through the secretary. So I love it when you guys send me messages. I really do. But the key person is the secretary. So if it's any information related to anything, it has to go to the secretary because that will be filed in our file. So if any point in time we get audited, or I don't know, the Tanzanian government maybe have a problem or have a suspicion of a problem, all of our paperwork is accessible, right? And Irene has been doing that for us voluntary. And obviously Irene is independent like myself. And what I would ask is that, Eric, would you be willing to nominate somebody from the Dark Cubs to act as the next secretary so Irene can work towards handing this duties over the next 6 months?
Yeah, so going forward, I think since Irene is Kenyan, first of all, as much as with the work she's been doing for us, we are so grateful, but moving forward, maybe for the next 3 months or 4, Irene should work closely with Anthony, because Anthony is in the same. Yes. I think they should work closely together. So whatever Irene is doing should share with Anthony, and then it should be in harmony, yeah?
Okay, yeah. So Anthony is your nomination from the Dark Cubs, is that correct? Just like yes. Okay, guys. Okay, before I move forward with anything else, does anyone have any strong or objections? And guys, this is an open forum. If anyone has got any problem with the nominations that I've put forward, now is the time to raise your hand. Yeah, Eric? We got 2. We'll do one. Eric, let's do one at a time. We'll go to you first, Eric, please.
Okay, cool. For the role of vice president, whatever you say makes sense. But to my perspective, if the president fails to appear or to show up for a given meeting, for example, it can be human reasons. Maybe he's sick, maybe it's whatever happened. At least we should have someone who can represent him 100%, like even better than him, And for the role that you suggested to give to Matayo, the young guy down in Mwanza, to me, to my understanding, I think we should put someone who is more capable of that position. Like comes to the talking, comes to the organization, to sit with the people of the authority and everything. I don't think Matayo is up for it yet. Who would you like to nominate for that role, Eric? I will go with Jacob. He has been doing this for way way back. You know, he's the one even who brought up. I mean, that helps where it is now. So
okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's go back a step then. Okay, so firstly, because we just thrown you into the deep end, Anthony. Anthony, would you like to be considered for Vice Secretary? You're muted, my friend. You unmute yourself, bud.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Nice to see you, bud.
Nice to see you too. So I've already been working hand in hand with Irene already, and I think when it comes to the duties that she has been portraying towards me, I think it's something that we can work on together, and maybe eventually in the future get to a position whereby I'm more comfortable with it. So yeah, I am willing to as a vice secretary for now.
Okay, brilliant. Can I take us back to the conversation of vice president, guys? We've got. Can you show me everyone's screen, please, Will, if possible? Sorry, guys. So currently we've got. And what I'm going to do, guys, is so we've narrowed it down to 2 people. Is anyone else? Anyone would like to nominate or put forward before we? Does anyone else want to nominate someone else for vice president? Okay. So, because we've obviously had a bit of a discussion around this, Abdul and Kevin, Paul and Phil, you guys are independent from Wanza or the Dark Cubs. So could I have, so at the moment, guys, we're going to do a little bit of a mini vote here. So I'm going to say for Matteo, I've got myself down. And for Jacob, we've currently got Eric down. So we've got a 1-1 split. So individually, I'll go through each one of you. I don't need your rationale, guys, unless you want to give it. It's up to you, your reasons. So I'll start with Paul. You're at the top of my screen. So can I start with you, please?
I don't know the second nominator at all.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to make any judgment upon that character, only what has been said about him. What I do believe, because we've both come from development, we've seen a very, very mature young man in Matteo, who is vastly experienced now in many ways, as well as his keenness and abilities. He presents himself very well with a very level head, and he has a particularly good manners, and he would be very presentable to any government or any other party he would do. He can only mature better into a position through learning. We are not favored with great amount of experienced people, and therefore we've got to use people who will pick up the role and with the confidence stand up and take that role on board, whatever their age is. Matteo is the type of man I would back.
Okay, so just to elaborate here, Paul, just to confirm, so you're putting Matteo forward as your vote, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry guys, some of you haven't muted your screens, guys. So if you, I don't know who's unmuted, but could you make sure your screens are muted, guys? Okay. Irene, could I have your vote, please, Irene? Hey, Irene, could you unmute your microphone for me, Irene? Will, could you unmute Irene and mute everyone else, bud, if possible? I'm going to come back to Irene, guys, because I think she's got a poor connection. Can you hear me, Irene? Okay, who else? Eric, Phil, can I come to you? Yeah, Abdul, I'm working down the list, but you're in order. So, Phil, can I come to you, please? Yes, sir.
I think I will go with Matteo on this one.
Okay. Can I take it back to who have I got? Anthony. I'm going to assume. Anthony, could I have your vote, please?
Okay. So basing on what I know and the person that I've already spent time with, I think Jacob is more capable because, you know, he's more experienced and he's been playing ever since we left Uganda, and the experience we got from there and came back to Tanzania. He's been working hand in hand to make sure we push rugby to where it's supposed to be. So I'd go with Jacob right now.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Okay, guys. So we got 2-2. Abdul, could I have your vote, please?
Yeah. From what the debate was in, I would go with Jacob due to the fact that Jacob was vice president of the school which he was in. This is a person who I could say he has skills in leadership, and not only that, he's doing something. As in, I would go for Jacob.
Okay. Guys, we've got what I would call a 3-3 split at the moment. Irene, can you hear me? Can you just wave your hands if you can hear me okay? Just give me some...
Yes, I can.
Yeah. You're in. Yeah, come on in, Irene. Because I know you've worked with both these guys as well.
I think I'll go with
Sorry, Irene. Can anyone else hear Irene? I think Irene, could you type your comments in the chat box? Is that possible? Could you type your vote in the chat box? Also, guys, if anyone is listening in on the YouTube stream and has any objections, could they please comment in the YouTube section? If anyone would like to comment on the current vote we are having. Like, again, guys, this is an open floor. There's no real official roles at this stage. So the people that are here are the people that are making the decision, you know. So can I present something as an idea, guys? And maybe, I don't know if this would work. I don't really want to have the cast-in vote in this because I think that would be, because at the moment you're at 3-3. And I think it would be unfair to ask Kevin and Moshi to talk about people he doesn't know. I've met both of these gentlemen, and I think they both have, how can I say that? They both are equal candidates. And if you had to ask me personally, what I would do, and this is entirely up to you guys, I would find a way that they can do this role together. And maybe you're going with Matteo. So Daniel's going with Matteo, but okay. Well, I'm going to go with Jacob just to make it awkward, right? So it's 4-4. So, guys, how do you feel about having a job role that is split between them? How do you find... did people think that is a valid idea? Because I think they both have different skills to offer. Can I ask? Sorry, I'll go through you one by one. That's what. So we got to make a decision, guys. Do we split the vote, or do we go with splitting the role? So I think less work, isn't it? Sorry, Paul, you got your hand up. Let's go with you, and then Eric, and then Phil. Wait 1 second. You muted, Paul. You muted. Yep. Oh, unmuted. You remuted yourself. Good.
Are you there now?
Yes, we're good.
I think it's a marvelous idea. I think this isn't about any sort of big power thing. This is about giving everyone a chance for the experience as well. And we want to encourage as much as possible in every possible way. We aren't big in numbers that we can spread this out, and I think there's no reason why we shouldn't split the vice presidency according to regions. Would be favourable.
Okay, it's a very large country. Why not south and north? I think that is exactly what Peter Cheek has just agreed with him. Guys, I think that is a really good idea. And Will, can I listen to Eric and then Phil had their hands up? Can you mute yourself, Paul? Cheers, back. Over to Eric. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever Paul is trying to say is, I'm in agreement with him because again, it's a big country, you know. Again, yeah. And whatever we're going to do in the future, I'm very sure it's going to be hectic and it's a lot, you know. Mm-hmm. And considering people have other lives apart from rugby, so someone may be busy and some other person might fill in the role. So I think going both of them is a great idea.
Okay, the one thing that I want to say, guys, is I'll explain this in a way that I can understand simply. We are looking for the future to have Matteo because he's taking sports now. Yes, thank you, Sebastian. That was one of the reasons he was recommended. Brilliant. South and North, yes. I think that's okay. Are we all happy with that? We've got a vice president for the North and we got a vice president for the South. Are we happy with that, guys? I do want to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I allow Phil just to have the floor a second, Will? Because no, you good?
All good. I was gonna say the same. I'm on board with a dual role.
Okay. The only I want to present this to you guys. Yes, we have to do things a specific rugby way, right? So we have to follow the traditions of rugby, which is around the world. Hear and see, but that's okay, Jackson. As long as you can hear me, buddy, that's fine. Super, that's fine. All of this is recorded, Super, so everyone will have a copy. But thank you for that. We had a New Zealand coach that came to Wales a long time ago, guys. And previously, we had lots of people that came to Wales that wanted to change Wales rugby, and they kept trying to do it their way. And then when this coach came to Wales, his name was Graham Henry, he decided we were going to play the Welsh way. So I want to do this, everything. Well, I say I want you guys, the recommendations like that are really important. We have to have, this is a Tanzanian rugby. It's not Kenyan, it's not Ugandan, it's not Malawi, it's not Welsh, it's not English, it's Tanzanian rugby. So again, I hope future meetings can be spoken in Swahili if you guys would prefer that. But we are going to kind of adapt and evolve. But what we have to understand, and I hope you appreciate this, there's a bigger umbrella that sits over the top of us. So there's Rugby Africa, World Rugby. So we have to fulfill those requirements as well. So we're going to have a balancing act. And what I would say, guys, this is the first time, to my understanding, that we've had 6 or 7 regions, because Peter's on from Zanzibar. So we're 8 regions that are represented. You're all having a voice. Well, admittedly, I'm doing all the talking today, but next time you'll be doing all the talking. So this is a really positive thing, guys. So I'm glad we came to that conclusion pretty quickly. That's a great thing. If we can work like that all the time, guys, we won't have any problems. So, okay. Can you just give me 1 second, guys, and I will finish up. Okay. I can't hear Irene, but as you know, Irene has been in contact with coach educators up in Kenya. And unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we had to pause. Can you hear me now, Irene? Nope. Your line is poor. You're frozen again, babe. We need to get you to a better internet the next time, Irene. Sorry. Irene, I'll put a private call into you later just to check if there's anything we've missed, okay? So going back to it, guys, I guess the next stage for us as a federation is to have another meeting now, but only for the people that we've just identified. So some of the people are going to get... I'm not going to remove everyone from the WhatsApp group for the federation, guys, because I think, as Eric said, sometimes people are busy, sometimes people don't pick up messages. So as long as somebody in the club knows what's going on in the federation and change, gives that message out, great. But the next stage will be a meeting. I need to discuss that meeting date with you all. So can I ask, we need to have another meeting with the new federation members. Some of them are not here. I would say, what day are we up today, guys? It is, what was it, Tuesday, Wednesday? Okay, it's Tuesday. Guys, can I ask, if this is the Tanzanian way, sorry, Paul, what is the best day, what is a convenient day for you guys to have a meeting? What is, the best times and dates? Can I ask each person to kind of give some recommendations for that? What they think, is it Ramadan? Is it a Tanzanian national holiday? What is the next meeting we can have, guys? Can I have, Paul, can I throw something out there for me, or Eric, or can somebody give me some info? Eric, go.
To my side, I think during the week is much better around this time. When you go to the weekend, some of us drink, some of us watch rugby, some of us have other activities. On Saturday, Paul would agree with me. Philip would agree with me.
No one drinks in this group.
Phil would agree with me. But during the week is much more better. Why? Everyone is off work, around 8. Yeah. and keep it simple like the way we've done it now. So
Okay.
this is the best plan.
Can I ask? I know we've obviously some people haven't got good internet. Sorry, Paul. Yep, Paul. You have to unmute yourself, Paul.
Okay. Am I there?
You good? You good?
Yeah. Sorry I'm a little bit confused because I just we're now talking about arranging the next meeting. So can I say the motion has been passed and everyone has agreed that all names given for all positions have already been adopted at this point, and everyone is happy. No one's got any other injections. I certainly don't have any.
We have a show of hands in, guys, if we all agreed on the rules, because it make it a bit easier. Because put your hands up in the air if you're all happy with the rules and what we've agreed. And YouTube.
And my other point was that you said we have 7 voting members, and that's the right figure, of course, an odd number. But you're not including the secretary and the vice in the voting?
Sorry, I'll count you through the roles. So role number 1 is president. Role number 2, these are voting roles, is I'm not putting them any number order, guys. This is what I got on my paper. Vice president is 2. Secretary is 3. Yeah. Chairman is 4. Head of the referees is 5. Treasurer is 6. And vice treasurer would be 7, Paul. We've obviously got a bit of a split. What will have to happen is the vice presidents will have to agree for their vote, because they've only got 1 vote between them. So Matteo and Jacob will have to agree. And if they don't agree, we can maybe do something else. Let's fill it.
I would like to stand in order.
I would like to stand in order that a secretary is mandate that they should be a part of the voting panel.
Oh, it is, Paul. Yeah, if you just what I've done, I'll read them up again. So it's president is 1, vice president is the 2nd vote, secretary is the 3rd vote, chairman is the 4th vote, head of the referees is the 5th, the treasurer is the 6th, and the vice treasurer is the 7th. I'm sorry, I don't know if I lost you, if that didn't come through. Yes, Phil.
Sorry, I would suggest that the treasurer and vice treasurer combine their votes into 1, and that the 2 vice presidents have an independent vote.
I think that's a great idea. I second that, if everyone else is in agreement with that.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
I think that's a great idea. Thanks, Phil. Great recommendation. The only issue with that, guys, and I'll be very specific, is right now we haven't got a voting member from Moshi based on that. And
super.
Yeah, but if he's the vice treasurer, that's not a casting vote. Can I recommend that the chairman, Wayne, maybe gives his vote over to the director of rugby from who's representing Moshi, because Moshi is one of the more established regions, guys, and they have got bodies. Dodoma and Mwanza are still building towards that point. The vice secretary. Okay. I tell you what, guys, we've got the roles. What if at the next meeting, all the people that have been appointed discuss is the voting schedule? How does that sound to everyone, just so we can move along?
Good plan.
I've no heard a president. Your president is Abdul, young Daniel. Sorry, I'm getting messages on YouTube, guys. Just to establish, for those that have just jumped on the call, we've got Abdul has been appointed as president, and it has been agreed upon. I'll go through these again. Vice presidents in the north would be Matteo. In the south would be Jacob. Abdul is representing Tanga. Matteo is representing Mwanza. Jacob is representing the Dark Cubs. The secretary on paper is going to be Irene, but she's going to be working alongside Anthony over the Dark Cubs and will be transitioning into that role. Again, Irene won't have the vote, won't be a voting member, but the vice secretary in this case will be Anthony, so he will have the voting member as a Tanzanian. Okay. The chairperson we've put forward is Wayne McIntosh. I furiously keep checking my messages, Paul, to see if he's agreed or not, because I messaged him earlier. He did say, in fairness, Paul, that the answer was yes to every question. So I kind of...
I got the same message. Yes, yes, yes. Anything you want, yes.
Okay, so I think that could be a yes. Right. As hopefully Wayne agrees to that, guys, as an interim. And then what I'm looking for is we're going to move on. 1 second, Eric. Let me just finish up and I'll come to you in a second. The head of the referees then would be Daniel Shamir up in Arusha, or representing the Arusha region. The treasurer would be transitioning over, which would be Paul, and representing Tanzania, no lines. Paul will work on this, and sorry, the vice treasurer will be Superman. Before I go on a second, guys, and I'll come back to you in a second, Eric, so I keep losing my train of thought. There are 2 other roles that are going to sit outside the federation, which we're forced to have at this stage, guys, until we're more established. There'll be somebody that oversees the development of rugby, so sits underneath the federation, just essentially does exactly what Phil has been doing for the last, 3 to 6 months or longer. Phil, how long have we been here? It's probably a year now. So, yeah, Phil.
Almost 7 months now.
Okay, so Emilia, Tanzania. So, Phil has been, if you guys are not aware, Phil has been speaking to you individually in each region. He's been reporting that information back outside Africa to me, and also inside Tanzania to the secretary and each of you individually. So that's the head of development. Now, that isn't a voting member. That is somebody that feeds information in. Okay, thanks, Pete. Pete, I'm going to outline the date for the Zanzibar Beach Sevens, just so you know. And I've got, Pete, before you jump off, could you confirm the date for the Vans is going to be the Saturday, the 26th? Can you just confirm that for me? Saturday, the 26th of June. So, yeah, gentlemen. So there's going to be 2 roles, as mentioned. The head of development, which will sit outside the federation, but be part of the federation. So I would recommend at the current stage to have Phil in that role, because that's exactly what he's been doing as an independent. And then each region or each club will have its own development officer. What I'm going to ask Phil to do over the next 6 months is identify who is the best person to fulfill his role and step into development from the region. So I'll give an example. I know that young Dizzo is doing a lot of rugby development, and Danny and down in Dodoma. So if one of those guys was, engaged, hey, Jacob, I just seen you on the call, nice to see you. If one of those guys was doing loads of work, very similar to what Daniel and Irene have been doing, Phil would then put them forward to replace him when he sees fit, okay? So that's an external role, doesn't have a vote on the federation, just a name. The next role, guys, is I've stuck myself into this role, and I need you guys to vote. Oh, sorry, Abdul, yeah. Let's come to Abdul a second, if we can, Will.
We were talking about the appointing of the next development officer. What I was thinking was, let's put this practically. If somebody is doing development, obviously it will be seen. Now, for the person who is effectively doing development, I think the person deserves having the roles as in being the next development officer.
Who do you want to put forward, Abdul, for
that? To me, I would say Ibra.
Ibra, okay.
Ibra from Tanga Warriors. Why? Because he's doing development, and not only doing development, he has a scheduled number of schools of which he's dealing with. As in, he's doing daily development. So I don't know. Yeah. But
what I would say to that is there's a difference between doing development in Tanga and doing development across all of Tanzania, if you catch what I'm saying. So the head of I'm glad that you've identified Ibrahim, because I was going to ask you that question, actually. What I'm going to ask for is going to be a head of development for each region. Okay, so there'll be Ibrahim in Tanga. I've put Kevin, I've put you down for Moshi. I've got Peter Cheek for Zanzibar, if he's still on the call. I've got either Innocent or Monster or Bosco up in Arusha. So that's not really for tonight's conversation, but what we need to agree that somebody has to monitor and oversee that over the next 3 to 6 months and transition. Ibrahim, Monster, one of these guys will fulfill that role as not just regional development, Tanzania development. But unfortunately, there's not really a role there at the moment. So the role at the moment is making phone calls and pulling people together. So I'm going to nominate Phil just because I don't want one person from one region at this stage, Abdul, because I think it would be unfair. We need to have someone independent for that, just for the short term, so that an independent decision is made. Like, you're going to recommend Ibrahim because he's your best mate, right? Paul is going to recommend some of the guys up in Arusha because he doesn't know Ibrahim. He's never seen him. I'm going to recommend maybe either. So what I'm trying to say is...
I do know Abraham.
Mr. Paul knows Abraham.
You do know. Okay, you stand corrected. So what I'm saying is, guys, the only person right now that knows what's going on in all the regions is Phil. I can ask him at any point. So what I'm asking Phil to do, the same as Irene and the same as Paul, is to shovel that onto someone else over the next 3 to 6 months. And then you guys decide as a federation, whoever, I won't be part of that vote. So you will vote the new head of rugby, head of development. Okay. The next role, guys, I'm going to have to fulfill myself for the short term, but I want to nominate someone else to fulfill the role and work with me. So, as mentioned at present, I am your liaison officer between Rugby Africa and yourself. That will soon become your president in the next couple of months, but they will... Hey, Kelly. Hey, Kelly. What's my role? You are #1 player, Kelly. So congratulations. So, guys, a lot of my work outside Africa is based on bringing people to Tanzania, like international. Does that make sense? Jacob, put your top on, but nobody wants to see that. So, this is going to get awkward if he doesn't realize the camera's on. Right, so guys, Irene, close your eyes. You don't need to see this. Guys, we are 1 minute past being over our meeting, so I'm going to finish this up quickly. Okay. My job role, essentially, guys, is going to be bringing international support, international money, international funds through the Scorpions development. I think, guys, you know what I do. I bring equipment, I bring logistics, I bring all the stuff that is hard to get hold of, right? So if it's mouth guards, that's the type of stuff I'll be doing. But on paper, guys, I will be classed as your international rugby liaison officer, international rugby liaison officer. And I am going to nominate Eric, because I could see you've been bussed into one. Eric, sorry if you felt like it was Christmas Day and you didn't get a present. So I had to leave it till the last minute. I would like to nominate Eric for international liaison officer to work alongside me so I can pass all my contacts over so he can feed that over to the Federation. Eric, I'm going to blow your trumpet a little bit. Eric has played international rugby for Uganda at the highest level and has been involved with rugby at the highest level. Eric and I have got a few mutual friends involved with rugby at international level, and I know that Eric can bring those to the table, including some of the very best players in Kenya and Uganda. So, guys, Eric, you can't vote on this, unfortunately, and neither can I. Can I either ask, I'll ask our new president, actually. President Abdul, could you please decide amongst the rest of the group if I'm allowed to do this job and Eric is allowed to do his job?
As we said earlier, this is all about experience, because it reached a time where, according to the law of the country, the federation has to be 100% local.
Yeah.
So, 100%. Eric, he's suitable for the position since he played internationally. He has international connections. He's perfectly suitable for the connection. Although I had a suggestion though via the assistant treasurer.
Okay. At the moment, the one thing I would say, Abdul, is before we go back to that, because that's been agreed upon, is that all of these roles are not permanent, right? And I don't know if I've said that because I think that's a really important thing. These roles are as temporary, and if someone isn't fulfilling that role or has come to the end of their term, that's one thing we should agree upon, guys. I think it would be wise, we have a quick vote. do we all agree that these roles are only going to stand for the next 3 months, and in 3 months' time they will be voted upon again? Does that give us all enough time to get? Yeah.
I would like to have a comment on that.
Yes, Paul, go for it. Fire up.
With all fairness, that I don't see a lot of treasury duties in the next 3 months. We hope there to be some monies turning around. We would hope that we had to spend something.
You will be busy.
I think in the next 3 months, but also I will say with the accountant, everybody knows this is a yearly exercise.
Yeah.
I personally won't. I would prefer to hold the position for at least a year, to see through the year's accounts to hand over at the end of the next AGM where it's officially. I don't think I can. This role needs a good input and a good handling for the best period possible. And 3 months to me, you don't achieve one way or the other, as far as I can see. Number 2 point is that everyone should realize I am a Tanzanian citizen, and I have qualified.
Yeah, I think they're talking about me as a non-Tanzanian and Phil, Paul. I don't think. Can I just interject?
The word president used the word should be local, but we should phrase that as citizens.
Citizen or national. Okay, guys, I totally agree with that, but I need to take us back to the purpose. Yeah, Abdul, I'll come to you 1 second. Guys, the purpose of the next 3 months is to get us the requirements needed in order for you to be a real federation, right? So what I'm saying around up here is, Paul, in 3 months' time, if everything is working well, that will continue, and you can plan. I don't know. You can agree to your terms for a bit longer, but I think it would be a miss to think that people who've never done this before are going to be perfect at it. And I think we need to have a system that in 3 months' time, if things are not working correctly, we're not stuck in a cycle for another, I don't know, 9 months or whatever. That's what I'm saying. Somebody, guys, you got to mute me. Guys, mute. Can you mute your microphone? Thank you, whoever that was. Abdul, can I come to you now, please, sir?
Yeah, what I was trying to say about the assistant treasurer, actually.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Paul is right. 3 months, nothing will do effective in 3 months' time. At least 1 year is reasonable.
Okay.
He's a Tanzanian, perfect. What I'm trying to say is, when you get to the laws of the country, any personnel who is handling cash at an international level or at a high level should meet the qualifications of it. So if the assistant treasurer perhaps was a person who studied accounts or studied finance, it would easily take our work. Because
is that Abraham's background? Is he an accountant then?
No, that would be Mula.
Who are you going to nominate?
Mula is an accountant by profession. Mula is, I don't know, but Mula is an accountant by profession. I don't know if there's any other person who has the same profession. He's there, let him speak for himself.
Yeah, well, the one thing to consider, guys, is we need a nomination. So what I would say, Abdul, is the one thing that if we move away from having super, just to understand, guys, is you're obviously going against trying to have people represented from each region. So that's important. We still haven't got anyone aside from super from Moshi. Just so you understand that. It's your decision, guys, so it's entirely up to you. Do you mind if I throw that out to the floor? And what I'll do is ask for nominations if anyone wants to change. So, Abdul, obviously, have you got someone in mind, Abdul? It's Eric you're talking about, is it, for Vice?
Eric, I know he studied the situation, but if there is any other player or any other rugby member who who missed the qualification, it's okay. If you're going for Eric, it's okay.
Okay, so what if...
check that.
Okay, what if, like we mentioned, this is a temporary measure just to get the requirements needed so we don't get kicked out of World Rugby and Rugby Africa, etc. And that goes back to what I would say is, yes, we're going to have regular meetings now, but what if in 3 months' time, politely, you kick me out you kick Phil out, you kick Irene out, or move her to a different role, and then you guys have identified other people to fulfill that. I'm politely saying, guys, I don't want to be here in 3 months' time, so let's do what we got to do tonight, and hopefully we can review that. We'll call it a review. Is that like a appointment review? So if people are not doing what they're supposed to, which thanks, Kevin. Kevin, you are going to be #1 player for Moshi, bud. You're going to be the captain of Moshi. Congratulations. Kelly, sorry, not Kevin. My first dog was called Kelly. Kelly. Right. So, guys, we got to move this along pretty quickly because we're now over time. Next question, and there's probably going to be loads of people on this, or next point of order. Any other business? Is there anything else that you think is relevant to what we've discussed tonight? Not what we're going forward with, to do with appointment of roles, constitutions, etc. Paul, have you got your hand up? Yeah, Paul. So you're muted, brother. That's it.
Okay, so my next point was that one of our members, it should be established that we've got a health and safety member, a part of the committee, or on the membership, and a non-voting member. You've mentioned the head of development and the liaison officer, but I believe we have to, we must have that person on board to cover health and safety.
Can I make a recommendation? There's obviously a lot of other roles. Tonight's purpose was to try to nail down the committee members that are going to be present at the next meeting, okay? So I think if we all agree that we need to have a health and safety representative, medic, someone who's going to fulfill that role within the committee. Are we all agreed upon that? That's Paul's nomination.
Sure.
Yes.
Eric? Yep. Sorry, bud. Hey, Jacob.
What I think is whatever Paul is trying to say is correct and everything. But as you said, moving forward, for purpose of the meeting, I think we've reached the purpose of the meeting. The rest, we're just going to be adding those positions. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do as a point of order then. If we all agreed upon, what I'm going to do is I'll make sure that is on the next agenda for the next meeting. And if you've got any nominations from your regions, guys, we'll bring them. Because, guys, I want to be clear, and I hope this isn't coming across too direct. I have been asking for these meetings now, guys, for this all to take place for at least 6 months, right? Let's be blunt about this. You all seen the conversations in the WhatsApp groups. I'm getting little to no responses off 90% of the people. And I'm so grateful that we managed to pull this call together in such a short time. This tonight is a new chapter in Tanzanian rugby. And I want to close the old chapter, all the negativity, all the things that have gone wrong, gone. And we use this as a launch pad to get us established back in Rugby Africa, which will, let's be real about, guys, we're a group of people in shirts and ties talking right now, okay? But what we're representing is your players and your coaches. And their priority as a player is to play rugby. So our primary goal in establishing this federation is to make sure that there's rugby being played in Tanzania, that young people, old people, black people, white people, yellow people, brown people, Muslim people, Christian people can all play rugby, that have got access to play rugby. So, and Buddhist as well if they choose. So, what I would say, guys, is respectful. We've established quite a lot of information this evening. We've had quite a, I think, I don't know how everyone else feels, I feel we've had a quite engaged meeting. Everyone has put their points across. Certain people have put their hands up and come to the meeting. I think the next meeting is going to be much better than this, and it's going to be a little bit more organised, a little bit better, and I think that's what we're aiming towards. So, again, I'm going to put on any other business. I know Phil is taking notes. Phil, can you ensure that is on the next agenda for next week, that external roles from each region's development officer to health and safety officer to the names of the referees, we'll basically have all the roles for each of those. If you've already got people in your region, guys, because I know some of you, like Arusha, are pretty established, all that information should have come to Irene. So if I ask Irene, who's the director of rugby at Tanga, I need to know who's the medic in Tanga. All of that stuff we've been working on for the last couple of months, guys. But we need to, as Paul has said, we need to identify somebody who can step into that role as part of the committee. Are we all agreed upon that, then, guys? We'll put that on for the next one and making sure. Yep. Is there anything else really important to you or your club or your region that you would like on the next agenda? It could be anything, guys. So you don't have to do that now, but have a think about it and make sure that information comes across to either myself or Phil or even in the Federation chat. If there's things that you want to discuss, we discuss that. Has anyone got anything they'd like to add? And that could be on YouTube, anything like to say, anything? Okay. Guys, I would like to dedicate this meeting to a lost fallen friend of ours. As you know, we lost one of our rugby community this year, tragically, in Moshi. And I would obviously like to offer my condolences individually, but as the new federation, Kevin, if you could pass back that Morgan is in a lot of our thoughts. We will be rearranging the Moshi 10s, and there will be a cup that will be in Morgan's name as a memorial cup. And hopefully the next time we come on a call, guys, you'll have a real chairman like Wayne who will be able to shepherd you through this a little bit better. I want to say thank you guys for the opportunity to be working with you in Tanzania. It's been the hardest 7 years of my life, I won't lie, but to see this come across the finishing line and see your players playing international rugby is going to be a great achievement. So thank you again for the call, guys. I'd like to thank everyone individually, Kevin, Paul, Eric, Abdul. Oh, Paul, sorry, I can see your hand going up. Paul, fire up.
Finish your vote of thanks, and then I'd like to say something.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, personally, guys, what I want to say is, if anyone listens in on this YouTube stream, I want to thank anyone who's been involved with Tanzania Rugby to get us to this point. We're very close to the finishing line, and I'm very confident that I will see. The next meeting, everyone, very good point. We're going to discuss that. I'll come over to Paul. Thank you to Abdul. Thank you to Anthony. Thank you to Philip. I think I thank Karen and Eric, and thanks to Irene. I am proposing the next meeting takes place. Sorry, guys, I've got to check my schedule a second. How does Tuesday the 27th sound for everyone, gentlemen? Can I have a raise of hands and a time? Tuesday the 27th at the same time? 27th of April, by the way. Sorry. Eric, is that good for you and Kevin? And Abdul, Tuesday the 27th of April, guys.
Of April or May?
Here.
Right, why is
27th
today?
of May.
Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry. The 4th, sorry. 4th of May. What am I on about?
4th of May.
Good on my side.
Yeah. Next week?
Next Tuesday is the 4th of May. Yeah. Kevin, is that okay for you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, guys, I want to be clear. I know that this obviously costs people money to have internet connection. We won't be doing weekly meetings. As soon as May the 4th is the best. Yeah, May the 4th be with you. I like that. Okay, so May the 4th, 8 p.m. Tanzania time, we will reconvene. The members that have been voted in this evening will be invited only, and as the participants, because we have 10 participants again, but it will also be streamed transparently to YouTube. So if at any point anyone wants to go back through and find out all the things I've done wrong and highlight them, that would be great. Paul, can you finish up with some Swahili to make it sound really Tanzanian for us, please?
I say kaka nuskuru sana, nafanya kazi mzuri. Tafadhali, topo pamoja kweli. I say, everybody, I want to vote of thanks to Freddie, who's really brought this together and brought us all together. I want a bigger oi! And you know, and all on the and not only with Freddie, but Phil has done an absolutely fantastic job to get you all buzzed up and going. Irene has been there pumping away, and she's I don't know why she wants to keep you guys all going. She must have a special love for Tanzania, or someone she loves in Tanzania. Anyhow, karibu sana, karibuni, asante sana.
Thank you, guys. This is a brilliant call, guys. We just want to make history. Thank you to you all. Thank you to Mwanza. Thank you to Moshi. Thank you to Arusha. Thank you to Tanga. Thank you to Dodoma. Thank you to Zanzibar. And hopefully we'll have Kit Goma added to our list soon. Anyway, Gentlemen, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world, and thank you again, guys. Take care. Will, you can cut us all off now. Jacob, you...
Bye.